I don't have many opening remarks. You know, Tony and I connect occasionally, and he reports things are going well and as expected throughout the daily operations of METCOM. And so I'll keep my remarks short since I'm echoing. And I'll move on to number 2, which is approval of the minutes, which were from our meeting on February 12th of 2021. I hope we've had time to review those. And could I put a motion on the floor in a second?
Humer makes a motion to accept the minutes as presented.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion or corrections or clarification? Fantastic. We'll just do all in favor, say aye or a thumbs up if you're audio.
Aye.
Okay. Opposed, same. Opposed, thumbs down. Let's not be same. Patsy, it looks like the minutes are approved. I'll lean on Mr. Cannon to make any remarks on the review of expenditures.
The only thing that I wanted to point out was on the year-to-date budget that I provided. You'll notice that there's some expenditures down in the 800 line items that were not budgeted for. They really were. They were just budgeted in a different line item up in the 700s. So it appears as though they're unbudgeted, but they really are just those items were placed in a different line item.
Any other questions? Thank you. I don't believe we vote on the expenditures. It's just a review. So that's very good. Tony, you have the floor again, sir, to go over your department matters section.
We, so far this year, we have not received any formal problem reports. We have not had any significant equipment outages, and knock on wood, that all appears to be going well. As far as staffing goes, we've had no staffing changes since our last meeting. We are in the middle of the hiring process. We are slightly delayed on the testing. We have identified some network security issues as far as those applicants coming in and taking tests. So Dave and Lisa are working on that to get that corrected. Once that's done, we'll be able to move forward with the hiring process. Other than that, I have no other departmental issues to discuss, but I'm happy to answer any questions that anyone might have.
And with that, does anyone have questions for Mr. Cannon? We're an efficient bunch this morning without a lot of inquiries, which is good. That means we are thorough in our reports. Thank you, Mr. Cannon. I appreciate your service and all that you do to keep things running smoothly. I'll move on to my portion of the agenda. I do have an item for action. I'll put it on the floor and then we can discuss. It is approval of a field ops fee structure for user agencies. And to get the discussion going, I'll take a motion in a second. Can I get a motion? Yes, I could set the vice president. I don't do that.
Move by Humer.
Anyone?
Could somebody, I'm sorry, Camille, I could not understand what you're asking. I don't know, Mick, I can hear when you speak. Could you repeat what Camille was asking, please?
Sure, Jeff. The question on the field ops fee structure, she was just looking for a motion and a second to discuss that. So we're looking for a second.
All right, I'll second motion to discuss that since Tom's not here.
And if we have any questions Mr. Cannon can answer, I will mute myself since my sound is off.
You did have a memorandum in your packet that kind of briefly explained what we're looking for here. Back in October, we did present the field ops solution for information purposes and asked if any agencies wanted to test it in the field. We did have some take us up on that, and it looks like we want to move forward with providing that service to those in the field. Our question is, how do we want to pay for the licenses for the field ops? And I have presented three options here. One is METCOM would just go ahead and pay for those. That's not budgeted this year, but we can probably make it work. Or we can have METCOM bill the user agencies per license, and then, excuse me, and then we could pay Central Square that way, or we can just bill a portion. I just need the board to provide some guidance or direction on how you would like to see that done.
Tony, Tony, is there a number of a potential cost that it might be? Do you have any ideas on the interest and then the number of licenses that would be? So what would be the total impact to either your budget or to the individual departments' budgets?
I'm going to defer to Dave right now. He might have an accurate number as to the current interest. I suspect that there will be more interest as time moves on. We still need to look at the sheriff's department and normal PD. They might have more of a use later down the road as well. But Dave, if you could answer.
Sure. So right now, normal police and fire are both testing it. McLean County Sheriff's testing it. One of the rural police departments testing it. And I believe we have 4 rural fire departments testing it. I don't really have any final commitments. There is interest, probably a little higher on the rural fire departments right now. They're trying to use it instead of purchasing the full-blown mobile package. We're not sure it's going to work the way they want it to yet, but that's what they're testing.
So at this time, we really don't have a good number to give you as far as what we're looking at.
Hey, Tony, this is Dustin. Is the license, I noticed in your synopsis that the license is per license, $120 per license per year. Does that number change if we make a commitment for multiple agencies within the county to subscribe, or is it just for $120 per license per year?
It's just going to be $120 per license per year, regardless of the amount that we actually get. We also need to take into consideration that we have some administration, extra administration by our CAD administrator, Dave, on this end as well. And that number could change from Central Square. I wouldn't expect it to go lower, but it could go higher as years move on.
Hey, Tony, it's Mick. I guess my thought on this whole thing would probably be option, to where each agency pays the $120. I'm not sure that, this is something that, METCOM should take on the cost of that, if that's something that each individual department would like to see. And if it just becomes free to each department, I can see them, just adding units to add units because there's no cost to it or anything. So I guess I would be agreeable to, each department pay the $120 or at least pay partial, just so that they have some skin in the game. That's just my thought.
Yeah, and this is Dustin, I was leaning similarly to Chief Humer's comments. I thought initially what I thought would be reasonable is 50% commitment from the agency, and then METCOM assisting with the other 50%. So making it $60 per license per year for for the agency and 60 for METCOM. But I would like to better understand the totality of the impact of that expense based on the interest that we have, I think, before making a formal recommendation. But I agree with Chief Humer. I think the agencies need to have some skin in the game.
Well, I guess my question then would be to your point, you know, if they want to use it today, that's fine. They can pay for it. If we get to a point of some critical mass down the road, we could look at different ideas and thoughts around that if there's greater benefit. But to your point, if certain agencies want to use it and others don't, then they're getting somewhat more of a benefit in a sense than the other agencies are too. So I would agree with you, Mick, that it seems like at this point it makes sense that each department, if they want to use it, they would pay for it. Just my 2 cents.
Anyone else? The recommendation, it seems, and I see some affirmative nods, that what Mick brought up about really option B, and that we bill each agency for the full cost, and then perhaps revisit this later if we want to change course when we can compile some data and bring forth the impact of a shared cost to the board for further discussion. Does that seem reasonable?
Yes, I would make a motion to that effect.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Perfect. Yes, Tony?
I'd just like to remind the board also that we currently bill agencies for the use of Starcom airtime. METCOM incurs about half the cost of that and passes along the savings to the user agencies there. So, you know, for what it's worth, there is some benefit being pushed out to the user agencies for that. So, you know, I guess you kind of think of it as an offset when we start looking at providing this service to them.
Thank you. With that sort of amended motion on the floor, I'll go ahead at this time, if you're comfortable, if there's no other comments, and take a vote. All those in favor, a thumbs up or an aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Any opposed? Okay, Patsy, that looks like the option B passes at this time. And we'll remember to bring this forward for discussion at a later board meeting when we have some more data. Thank you. Okay, let me scroll back up to my agenda and yours too. I only have an announcement that our next meeting is June 11th. Same time, don't know if same place. I think Mr. Cannon and I and staff will talk about any possibilities of in-person meetings should public health guidance allow. Is that fair enough, Mr. Cannon? Okay, good. Going on to other business and communication. Does anyone have anything to share? Any announcements or other information that you were hoping to bring forward today?
Hey, Camille, this is Dustin. More just a comment and confirmation. I noticed next week is National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week. So I don't know if it's been tradition on behalf of this board to formally recognize all of our telecommunicators at METCOM, but I suppose just for matter of record, a heartfelt thank you for that and all their services, and maybe invite Lisa or Tony or Dave to comment on if anything is taking place next week that the board needs to be aware of.
Yes, thank you, Dustin. Lisa or Dave, anyone?
Yes, actually, we've got quite a bit planned. We the supervisors have been really great at getting gets together. especially Rhonda, personalized gifts for each one of the telecommunicators. So we got a gift bag for each one of them. Kind of do a theme day every day. Going to be bringing in some food. Also made some arrangements with agencies to, I guess, do some declaration or whatever for the TCs. So we actually got quite a bit going on next week. So wanted to do a little bit extra this year because of the obviously tough time we've had in the past year. So doing a little bit extra this year.
Great to hear. Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Camille, I would just say whatever you did on your end, you fixed your voice because it's much better.
I clicked a
Agreed.
button. I'm definitely not of the IT department, but I went up in the little square and clicked a button. So I apologize for that. Hoping, you know, you'd think I'd get better at the technology now that we're a year into virtual meetings, but it's not true. So thanks for that, and I
You're now
apologize.
certified to work in IT though, Camille.
Yes. Mr. Cannon, do we have any public comment today?
We do not.
Okay, all right. With that said, if there is nothing else, we were pretty efficient here, 9:18 a.m. I'm going to go ahead and adjourn, and I suppose if you have time to thank our telecommunicators next week, please find a way to do so. We're so appreciative of the work they do to keep us safe. So thank you, everyone, and we are so adjourned. Have a good weekend.
Take
Thank
care.
you.
Thank you.
Bye all.
Bye.